Hello everybody, welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
We should start, James, this is our last podcast going out before the old Christmas. So wishing all of our listeners a Merry Christmas. It feels, end of the year and all that. What a mad season and year it's been with the show and everything. And appreciate all the support from people that listen in and review the show and give us a thumbs up and all the nice messages we get at the end of the year. That's a gift in itself when people just DM sometimes, nice things about the show and stuff. So if you're listening, thank you for everything, and I hope you have a fantastic Christmas.
Oh, well said. I don't think I've got a lot more to add to that. Well, you mentioned DMs, just to remind everyone that my DMs are open. Whether my DMs are not open to ask me who the best Bukayo Saka replacement is, we will see if we can try and work that out during the course of this podcast. I realise that
whoa, I can't help with that because I've been through the entire list of midfielders and I ain't got a clue.
I've not 100% decided as yet either. I do realise that a number of people will have made their decision last night because of the inevitable price change. Some of us were lucky enough to be up an odd amount on him and therefore have not made that decision as yet and could probably leave it possibly to Boxing Day morning. I do note that Ragaboli said, who does live FPL, he said that Saka probably wouldn't drop in price now again before deadline, but then obviously would again like on Boxing Day night. It'll be like that. Then again on Sunday night. I think first thing to say is because it's such a hot topic at the moment, the chances of Bukayo Saka playing for Arsenal this Friday are, in my opinion, 0. And I would think the very, very best case scenario is that he'd be back for Gameweek 20. There's every chance this is quite serious. You'd pull your hamstring like that 20 minutes into a game and feel it straight away like he did.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see him till February or beyond.
Yep. Wow, that's quite a way.
You do a hamstring. We would say if it's a hamstring, you're kind of looking at like minimum 3 weeks. If you feel your hamstring like that, that's like the best case scenario. You can have bad ones like Harry Kane back in 2020 was like 3 to 4 months. So, touch wood for him that it's not that bad. But in terms of the game, and I think most of us have gone, I don't like my obvious replacement here for Bukayo Saka. It's like you're looking through the list and I'm not really convinced about anything. It's like I should be here going, I want to go to Foden or De Bruyne or Son, and I'm not convinced by any of them. You look down,
but even think, lower, Bruno Fernandes or Luis Diaz, rotation. Do you drop down even further? But we'll talk about some of these options, no doubt for sure, because it isn't great. I had an even amount. I lost 0.1 on letting it go, but I thought let me let it go, and you never know if there's any further information that might help or kind of getting to the right decision right now is more important than the 0.1 for me. It was a bit frustrating because I lost 0.1 in Greaves as well, which I didn't realise was going yesterday. And
he might be back in the Ipswich team, judging by that on Saturday, mate.
Well, that's also true. Not that I would want to play him though if he gets back into the Ipswich team as well.
Let's start him Arsenal away. Go on.
Maybe not, James. Maybe not. Both of us had good weeks this week from a fantasy point of view as well. I had another game week inside the top 500,000. That's 2 in a row. So it's pushed me up to 339k, which I'm pretty happy with. It's up there as I'm trying to think if it's my second highest rank of the season behind game week 4. So I'm back up to 339k, and I was just inside the top million 3 weeks ago. So 95 points for me this week. I suppose the benching of Morgan Rogers for Semenyo was an interesting one. Long story, short story. I was really ill last week, like really ill. We spoke when we pre-recorded the quiz for next week with our friend Tom, Utterly TC, and it was my head was just not able to think about FPL. I had one decision. What's going on with Cunha? Literally, it was the only decision I wanted to make in FPL. If Cunha was out, then I knew that I was going to buy Raul Jimenez and sell Semenyo for Jota, potentially, as a longer-term pick. But I didn't really want to make that move. I was hoping that he wasn't going to get suspended because that was the logical move for me to make. But I didn't really want to make it it was felt a week too early for me to get Jota. So we got to Saturday, still no news. And I'd made the decision, if Cunha's in and I've got no news, he's staying. And if he's staying, Semenyo's staying. And if Semenyo's staying, I'm going to play him over Morgan Rogers. I didn't think there was a lot in it between the two of them in terms of making a decision. It ended up being 6 points, which is a fair amount, but it's also could have been worse, right? 14-2 as opposed to 14-8 with Semenyo. So ended up sticking with Semenyo and benching Rogers, which would have turned a great week into an even greater week. But happy overall. Assist for Gabriel, clean sheet and BPS for Lewis Hall, goal for Semenyo, goal for Cunha, and all the bonus points that he hoovers up whenever he seems to score. Hat trick for Isak with the 17 points was beautiful, and then captained Mo Salah for, in the end, a disappointing 21 points, to be honest with you, because had he taken any of the additional chances that he got yesterday, mate, that you gave him, your team,
he's shit, and he's Salah. Proper shit.
Yeah, awful. He could have. It was stupid. So 95 points in the end for me, James. The disappointments would be Gvardiol, no doubt. Cole Palmer. Saka going off early ends up a 5-1. So who knows if he would have returned more in that game. And then João Pedro is doing nothing right now as well. So those are the disappointments for me. But now I've got two problems. So last week, the problem was Cunha, knowing that the suspension is imminent. Surely the Premier League just take Christmas week off, don't they? They can't be working, James. They need to give themselves a nice break.
There is speculation of a possible announcement today.
Oh, come on. They'll have a day off, man. Just leave it. Kick it forward till next week.
If you've not heard anything by tomorrow afternoon, then you're probably good for Boxing Day again. There is certainly a case with Cunha that, on paper, harder run is starting now. That is true. However, his next two fixtures are against teams in the bottom half in Manchester United and Tottenham, who clearly
give up chances.
Exactly that. So I wouldn't fret about it. There is speculation of a potential hearing today, which I guess some people would maybe suggest that the Premier League might have it in for Leicester a little bit.
But the speed of that they're going through things.
Well, no, the Leicester
or letting him play against Leicester.
Leicester pissed the Premier League off, didn't they?
Okay, yeah, maybe, but I don't think that's true.
It's a nonsense that it wasn't sorted last week.
Nah, just ban him, and then it was the video evidence is so obvious as well. So Cunha's got to go.
Just go. Look, it's a 3-game ban, and we'll decide in a couple of days just how long it's going to be any more. Exactly. Yeah.
Cunha's got to go. Saka's got to go. And I've got 3 free transfers. So Cunha to Wood looks a good potential move at the moment for me. Saka, I've toyed around with Bruno Fernandes. I watched quite a bit of Manchester United Bournemouth yesterday. And as much as Bournemouth did beat them, Bruno's always just in the middle of everything and loves to take a shot and that. So I thought Bruno maybe, but I don't love their fixtures. Maybe KDB. That frees me up money to either move Flecken to Alisson or even maybe go from Greaves to Timber. Those are kind of thoughts on my mind, but I'm not in love with any of them, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think anybody is in love with whoever they get in place of Saka. I think that's worth saying.
But even just Cunha to Wood and then Greaves to Timber, I
don't know. Who's Wood playing this week? Gee.
Yeah,
I wouldn't regret that. But yeah, I wouldn't again. Unless you're going Cunha up to Isak or Jackson, I think unless he's suspended, you hold this week. I think hold it while you can. The thing is as well, it's a little bit like me with Jackson, where so many people have avoided because he's been on 4 yellows for this time. No one else can go and buy Cunha right now, right? So if you've got. I'm not buying Cunha. There's no chance I would consider buying Cunha at this minute, right? So unless he's banned, and if you're going up, then yeah, fair enough. I'd probably leave it in this week. Man United and Tottenham next too. The thing is, if he plays United, he probably plays Tottenham as well, right?
Yeah,
you would think at the moment.
Weekend straight after.
Exactly.
One working day, which is Friday. Obviously, Thursday's a bank holiday in England, so you'd expect people not to be working. They could work Friday. You never know.
Unlike this week, where people were saying to me, could he still get banned on Saturday? And I was like, yeah. if you've got like to the end of Christmas Eve and he's not getting banned on Christmas Day or Boxing Day, he'll
No,
play.
no.
Happy
Yeah.
Christmas, you're banned for 6 games. Like I can't see that sort of thing happening. How many points did you score, boss?
95 was the end
Nice.
total. Yeah. You broke the 100 club, James.
Yeah. Where are you up to now?
330.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy with that.
Yeah, 101 for me. I've had a storming last few weeks, back up to 13k now, actually.
Literally, Morgan Rogers versus Semenyo was the difference for us this week, wasn't it?
I couldn't have forgiven myself if I didn't play Morgan Rogers this week.
Well, based on the highlights and everything I saw from that game, he should have had more.
No, not really. No, I don't think
He had
so.
a couple of chances where he should have finished it or put people through.
No, I
I
think
think
even
he could have hauled more.
I would even say a goal and assist is probably a little bit over the performance from the expected output. But
Prior to the game.
the second goal is exactly what I've been talking about these last few weeks. The ability just to power through the centre of Manchester City's team. Yeah, we'll talk about them in a bit. So, yeah, I very much deliberated buying Jota for Semenyo, but had come to the conclusion that I really wasn't confident that Jota would start against Tottenham. In fact, I didn't think that he would. So couldn't justify buying him this week. If I'd have bought Jota, I would have no doubt played Jota and benched Rodgers. Amad Diallo was a tempter. No doubt if I'd have bought Diallo, I would have played him over Rodgers. And it kept eating at me. Like, I've been telling everyone for 2-3 weeks that Rodgers will do something against City. So that paid off really well. I'd bought Colwell early last Saturday for 8 Nori because of the price flips really early. I was sitting there with free transfers. So I felt I could go early. Then on Friday, we had this Kenny Tete development because I'd been waiting on Anderson.
Yep.
And that's part why I went early for Colwell because I was like, I'm not sure that they're going to force Anderson back in for Southampton at home. Doesn't seem to make sense. And then we had this Castagne gift just arrive on Friday. I was like, I don't think I can overlook that. Playing Southampton this week improves the team, admittedly kind of a waste because Colwell kept the clean sheet in the end. So I ended up buying a player who I'd benched anyway. But that defensively looks pretty strong now, and it might get stronger in the near future as well because I might be adding kind of another player for a rotation, or I might just get a powerful one in like Trent. So Captain Mo 42, Rogers 14, 7 from Raya Gabriel, another 7 from Hall, Isak 17. It's 101 points. Even managed to leave 18 points on the bench, Suj, but nowhere near as good as my game week 1 bench boost team. So yeah, can't argue with that. Obviously, the priority now is to deal with Saka. There's not a second doubt about selling here. I'd set everything up to be able to go Semenyo to Jota. So this feels like a bad injury for me because I feel like I was at a structure where I was going to spend all the money and I'd have a few players that people couldn't get to. The game's just opened up for everybody now with this Saka injury. I could, by the way, Suj, go Saka to Diallo, Jackson to Haaland.
So
For free.
I took out Cunha, took out Saka, put in Haaland, and only had 3 million for my midfielder. So I basically binned the Haaland idea. If I could have put in, let's say, a 5 million, an Enzo, or like say I could have gone Saka to Diallo, Cunha to Haaland. If I'd had money in the bank, I would have done it. I would have gambled on Haaland.
So
and I'm also looking at Saka to Kevin De Bruyne because I fancy Man City, though I think I need my head checked.
I could get Saka to Diallo and Jackson to Haaland. I could do it for free. I'm not going to.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
It just kills the team too much. Haaland basically only works for me in terms of structure of denying of too many other players if Mo Salah is unavailable, and he ain't going nowhere, is he?
And this whole selling Saka and then spreading the money and spending it everywhere, I feel uncomfortable because I've got to reverse it all to try and get the money back to get him back again later on. Yeah, it's not
But
ideal.
I'm not sure that he kind of is a reverse necessarily.
No, but especially if he's out for quite a while, you've got time to play around with it.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, let's just say he was out for a month, right? He's going to be back around about game week 23 or so. Wolves, City, Leicester, West Ham. There's a decent 4 there. But when we spoke in the past about maybe really wanting to hold Chelsea, Liverpool assets through a blank if they had their fixtures postponed in game week 29, which includes Arsenal, it might be difficult to go back. Could be, depending on how long he's out. There is that thought process, and I think a lot of people be thinking that. Can I go to a placeholder like punt Son for 2 or 3 and then see what happens? I probably wouldn't advise that personally. People want to make
No.
similar decisions with Foden and get that. Scored the late goal at the weekend. It was shocking otherwise though in the game. No, I won't be going Haaland unless something's happened to Mo Salah. Can't see me doing that. So the most likely for me still, I think, is to go Jota. I'd look at it and think he'll start one of the next 2, probably
Yeah.
only.
He
I think
got 20, 25 odd minutes yesterday, didn't he? He came on around at 65, 70 minutes, something like that.
it's 8 o'clock Boxing Day night, and then obviously they play yourselves 5:15 on Sunday.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
he does start both, he's possibly looking at an hour of both. So kind of looking at thinking, yeah, maybe it's sort of 100, 110 minutes over the 2. But I'm pretty confident that moving forward, he will go back to being Liverpool's first choice. That kind of puts second Liverpool attacker in place for the projected double now in game week 24. I think it's the most likely decision I'm going to make, but I still need to feel the confidence that Jota starts against Leicester. But to me, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I'm having the second Liverpool attacker as well. I mean, they were so good. Just on an aside, so I'm going to West Ham Liverpool next Sunday. Shout out to Sham for hooking me up with his ticket, and I messaged him about 10 to 15 minutes into your game, and I said it's going to be pretty horrible sitting there with Salah captain next Sunday because I've got no doubt. He replied to me and he said I'm not sure who I'm going to captain yet. 20 minutes later, I messaged him, have you decided you're captain yet? He was just no doubt it's going to be Salah for me. I think the next 2 fixtures.
Can you have any debate about this week?
For both Leicester and West Ham, no doubt in my
Crazy
mind.
though, isn't it? City at home to Everton, Chelsea at home to Fulham, Arsenal at home to Ipswich.
You were there yesterday, James. Honestly, that first half must have been hard to watch because they were just so
the second
good
half
against
was
you.
second half was easy, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it got because you scored some goals and it kind of got a little bit more fun with a scoreline of 6-3. But if you really just look at the first half in isolation as just like technical elements of the game and control and what they were able to do was just, I'd say boys v men feels harsh because
that's fair.
But it was just
That's fair.
you got to give them credit. It's not like you say what you want about us, but you got to give them credit. They were that good. And then you look at it and you think Carabao Cup, right? You got 2 legs against them. You might be able to get a glove on them for a half, 60 minutes maybe, but over 180 minutes, it's just they're something else at the moment, a real machine. And I think I've given Liverpool credit this year. Don't get me wrong, I really do think they're going to win the league. The one thing I would say on the flip side is like looking at Manchester City, I keep having faith in Man City turning it around. Like you look at the problems that Man City have had this season, and I've kind of been like, yeah, but it's City. They'll sort it out. Yeah, but it's City. They'll sort it out. I think I need to now just really, Liverpool is the real deal all the way through, and I think I can give up on my potential hope that Man City are going to turn it around, which is probably a segue, James, into the games that we need to talk about. Starting with the early kickoff was Aston Villa 2, Man City 1. But definitely the scoreline reflects much closer than the reality of the actual game. The late goal from Phil Foden maybe gives the scoreline some sort of semblance of maybe a bit of respect. But Aston Villa were just too good for Man City on the day.
Yeah, look, I said to you after my team went up there and won 4-0 that they were more likely to finish outside the top 4 than win the league. And I think you can all see that now.
Yeah,
I think that judgment you've got, I completely understand it. It's a psychological, they'll come good.
Yeah, of course, because how many times have they done it before? Like even when they were talking about showing the highlights of this game, they were like, Man City lost at Villa this time last year and then went 32 games unbeaten in the league and ended up winning the title. And you still get that well, last year you'd always have that feeling. This time around, I don't have that feeling of inevitability.
Yeah, I mean, what we should really do with Saka is go and buy Ilman then die.
Yeah. No.
And then chain that on to Buonanotte, chain it on to Jared Bowen, chain it on to Bumo.
No. No, no. I'm playing double City defence midweek, as crazy as I am, James, because Everton is still the second lowest scorers in the league this season.
No, I'm joking about Ndai, obviously.
Of course.
I never really want to buy an Everton attacker. Very good defensively, sure. Invest in them defensively, offensively, no. Of all the statistics at the weekend, nothing can be more damning than Aston Villa having 55% possession in the second half against Manchester City at the weekend.
You know, what you've been saying tactically with them is the way to get where people are having success against City is straight through the middle, right? It's not through width or anything like that. You can just run straight through the middle of them. And when I looked at the team for Villa, so you've got Onana, Kamara, then you've got Rodgers, McGinn, and who was the other?
Tielemans was outstanding.
You've basically got five central. They're not. None of those are wide players. They're all fairly central. And so what they've been able to do, and you've got power in there with McGinn, Onana, Kamara. They've just run through the.
They're all aggressive.
Of that pitch.
They're all aggressive.
And who cares about width? You don't need a Bailey on one side or anyone else on the other, because they have just controlled that middle with those five too easy and just run straight through. And if you look at the goals and all of the chances that they were creating, just going straight through the heart of them, it's like a massive donut. Man City, that is. Nothing in the middle.
I cannot believe what I watched in that second half. And do you know what was even kind of more damning was you're watching the game, and I think if City are 2-0 down, you know, when they were 2-0 down at Bournemouth played really well against them. Anybody who watched that game would know Bournemouth were hanging on at the end a little bit, fatigued. City still had confidence at that point in time. They had issues defensively, but still confidence going forward. Nobody was watching that game with 10 minutes to go thinking City are doing anything now. And you expect it, don't you? Expect something to come. The goal comes about because Luka Dean treads on the ball, not because City did anything to open them up.
Yep. Nice assist.
And as soon as they scored afterwards, then we're to play with tempo. You've got like 60 seconds now.
When Phil Foden picked the ball up and is running back to the halfway line to restart, I'm like...
Even in play afterwards, like Bernardo got it turned, like pirouetted, and bang, they were off. Where you been? I mean, listen, it's going to be difficult for me to criticise anyone this week after what I watched yesterday, but that is staggeringly bad for Manchester City. I think that in that second half on Saturday, they'd have lost to nearly anybody in this league. They're all over the place. Their confidence is shot. They've got no legs. They've got no confidence. That is a recipe for disaster. Everton is dangerous.
It is. Everton defensively are very, very solid. We've seen 2 clean sheets back-to-back, Arsenal and Chelsea. So you know they're not going to give up a lot of opportunity and space. And on the counter, they had chances. Robert Sanchez had to make a few saves yesterday. So I am going to be bold and play double City defence in Lewis and Gvardiol. We're home game against Everton. The lowest
completely
scorers,
understand that.
Second lowest scorers in the league. Let's go for it. And it's also like, what other options do I have? I don't see Newcastle keeping a clean sheet against Aston Villa. We've just seen what Aston Villa have done. So I played Lewis over Hall.
If you've got City players at home to Everton and you're deliberating not playing them, you should get shot of them.
Agreed.
Yeah, because listen, that's the most likely fixture in the league at the moment, basically, to be a clean sheet. So,
John Duran started for Villa over Ollie Watkins. Now we know Ollie Watkins has been carrying a knock, but he started the last 2. He scored in both of them as well. And we know what his record is like. He scored in the last 3 now. 7 goals this season. He's 5.8. As a Cunha replacement, do you fancy it at all? Or do you think Watkins obviously came off the bench, but do you think he'll be able to keep a hold of his place for a little while?
Don't know.
I wish there was
if Watkins was properly injured, go and buy him. Like, unquestionable. I've actually got eyes in potentially buying Watkins in Gameweek 19. The reason behind that is I'm now looking at new avenues of what can I get to that other people can't. And that will be one. While others are going, I'm going to move this money to put Isak or Jackson in or something. Or I'm going to put money in the back line at Trent, for example. I'm looking at Watkins thinking no one's going there. And why would they? He's not in the team. But after Newcastle, Brighton at home, Leicester at home, Everton, Arsenal away, West Ham at home. I think as a cluster, that's a pretty good run for Ollie Watkins, as long as he gets back in that team. In fact, looking further ahead, Wolves, Ipswich afterwards, going up to Gameweek 25. So that's one reason to keep hold of Rodgers as well, by the way. There's some good fixtures coming up for Villa after this
Yeah,
next one.
no need to move him on.
If Watkins got back in the team at Newcastle, I could buy him next week. They've also got the benefit of not playing till Monday night.
Right.
So the spacing is better. So it's not like if Watkins started at Newcastle, I think Duran's playing Sunday. Thursday to
No,
Monday,
it's a
it's a
big
difference
gap.
maker. I don't see me making that move because it's a bit too much of a gamble. But it might even be I'll leave it open as an option to look the following week when they've got Leicester at home. But I also think it's the sort of one they could go, yeah, we'll play Duran in that one. And why take Duran out the team when he's scoring? I guess Watkins has got to do work to get back in this team. But I don't
This
think you
is
can.
it.
I don't think you can buy Duran while Watkins is kind of sitting there as a shadow. He probably just needs Duran to go one game without scoring, and then it changes again. So it might even be that if Duran doesn't play well at Newcastle and blanks, I'm then looking going, is Watkins back in for this great run? Could be opportunistic to look at that. Yeah, Rodgers. I think the conclusion I come to on Rodgers before the game was I've got value in him. I've had him all season at 5, or at least since sort of like game week 3 or so when I wildcarded. It will end up being kind of much of a muchness between Diallo, Rodgers, Cliver, Enzo Fernandez. Is it worth trying to force and twist this? I was like, if I can just get through the next 2 with Rodgers, he'll be more handy for me. And obviously, the way I'd been speaking, it wasn't get through the next 2. It was play him in this one and then bench him at Newcastle. And that's my plan. I'm not like, oh, I'm going to play Rodgers at Newcastle now. No, don't want to do that. I'd rather play Semenyo this week. But yeah, intention, I think, to hold. Diallo was very attractive, and I understand it. Anybody who went that move, I can understand it. Because my fear with Diallo was it might become one where very quickly he's like 5'5", 5'6", and I watched Cole Palmer just disappear away from me for pretty much the first half of last season. Defensively, they should have kept a clean sheet, but didn't because ultimate troll Luca Dean decided to tread on the ball. I think most people probably aren't going to start their Villa assets this week. If you've got defensive, if you've invested there, you're not. But as I said, after Newcastle, good run of fixtures. For City, just to close, Suj, John Stone's back and injured again. Nathan Ake was obviously back in the squad. Josko Vardiol is very interesting over this period if he's going to play.
We had that chance in the first half as well where he burst through, played the 1-2, got in, and you're like, man, I was thinking if that guy played as a striker, I bet it'd be better than any striker that we've had at West Ham for the last fucking 10 years, honestly. It's stuff like that makes him very difficult to sell as an owner, because every game you see him with 1 or 2 chances where you're like, oh, he was close to getting on the score sheet the week before he was on the score sheet. It's frustrating because it makes him very difficult to sell.
Yeah, if whatever you've got, I think you have to hold at this moment.
And plus this good run starts now.
And that includes the big man. I don't know if Vardiol's going to play left back or not, because it could easily be, couldn't it? Like Lewis at left back.
Yeah.
Akanji or Walker even now at right back once Ake's back. But I don't think he wants to play Vardiol at centre back. I think he would ideally like to play him left back. But now you are down to just Ake and Akanji. As Diaz is out for a while, mate. It's going to be out for sort of 3-4 weeks or so. Stone's setback, so kind of right off. So the ideal setup for them is obviously Ake and Akanji as the 2 that then morphs into a 3. But if Rico Lewis even plays right back over Cole Walker, which is what most people want, then you've got Vardiol most of the time sitting left-sided centre-back. Now, that didn't stop him marauding forward and having that headed chance that you mentioned was basically from a left-sided centre-back where he's kind of gone on an underlap. Yeah, I'm not convinced to go and invest in that, though. If you've got it, you hold it. Haaland, for me, like buying him would only be I'm buying him because I can buy him, not because I should.
Yeah.
It just breaks the structure too much. You know, if you say to me, right, James, money, no object, put him in. Yeah, sure, still put him in. But he just takes so many players off the table for me, and I'm not prepared to do that. If people want to punt Phil Foden, I understand that because the 5 fixtures in front of you are good. And to repeat what I said last week, I do think City actually will do quite well over these 5 fixtures. But you are getting him in because of the fixtures, not because I think you've seen anything that makes you particularly want to do it. He's taken the goal well at the weekend, but it's only come about because of a defensive error. Kevin De Bruyne did not even get on the pitch, despite the fact Manchester City had a clear midweek. Thoughts?
Well, look, they're going to obviously wrap him up in bubble wrap because he breaks down, he gets in, he breaks down, he gets in. But they needed to chase the game. I just think that the physicality of what Aston Villa had in the middle would have been too much. He'd have got bullied. He wouldn't have been able to have any influence on the game.
But they created nothing.
Yeah, but I think
I not looking at last 20 minutes game with creating nothing. Put one of the most creative players in the league on the pitch.
Maybe he's not fit then. Pep's clearly struggling here. So, yeah, if he's lost for answers, who are we to be able to figure it out, mate?
And I think there's that with Foden as well. That what's to say that it's not just, going to put De Bruyne back in. And Kovacic, obviously being back available, is good for City, although he's no, well, he can get about the pitch better than Gundogan, but I don't think he has defensive awareness. That's what's needed to play in that position as a single pivot. They need to play two sitters in there. And if that means moving Lewis from right back into a 10 position, which he's done in the past, that's better. That setup cannot work at the moment with just one player in the single pivot. Kovacic just watches Rodgers go. And Lewis actually watches him go on the inside as well for the first goal. But Kovacic is better in terms of... He's a more physical, imposing player in terms of he can get around the pitch better than... I mean, Gundogan, was he 34 now or something? You asked him to play holding midfield player against players like Rodgers. It's not on. And he played a more advanced position at the weekend. But then there's that. So you've got Foden, Gundogan, De Bruyne competing basically for those 10 spots. I've just offered a solution that means moving someone like Lewis into one of those zones. We saw him play Grealish in the left 10 position against Nottingham Forest. No, Man City's not going to be the answer for me.
No. Brentford 0, Nottingham Forest 2. So obviously Forest are sitting pretty in the top 4 now. They were pre-game week, weren't they, as well, I think.
Been great.
Yeah, first time that Brentford at home have had to come up against a difficult opponent, and they
difficult defensive opponent, I think we should probably say.
Well, look, they scored 2 goals here as well, and Nottingham Forest.
No, what I mean is, like, if you could say Newcastle's a tough opponent, but Newcastle had defensively.
I get it, yeah, and they weren't able to get on the score sheet, whereas Nottingham Forest were. I mean, they got to be super happy. There's plenty of assets at Forest that people own or would like to own and will be happy with, whether it's Milenkovic if you gambled early on Ola Aina. Sales in goal is decent. Chris Wood is all right. Midfield is a bit bare there. It feels like they're sharing around the goals and assists between Gibbs White, Elanga, Hudson-Odoi.
That's
Elliot
better.
Anderson's been on the set pieces now for a little while and delivering great. I think I'd skip all of that midfield. Chris Wood is it for me, and if you want to add the defensive in Milenkovic, great. And I'm trying to find the off station for Mark Flecken imminently, I would say. It's not desperate. Do you know what I mean? He's another 3-pointer here. He's still picking up save points. Prior to the game week, I think since game week 6 wildcard, I'm sure I heard this on maybe above average. Or no, it was on Black Box. Flecken and Raya, same points from game week 6. I think that changed when Raya kept a clean sheet against Everton. But other than that, there's nothing in it between them. So he hasn't been bad overall.
Also includes Flecken having 2 assists, which you can't.
Has he got 2 assists? 1 assist?
Didn't he get 2 assists, Flecken, this season?
I think he's had 1, but I'm going to check that. Okay. I'm going to check that for you.
I think he's had 2, Suj.
No, just the 1.
Oh, okay. Fine.
Just the 1 assist. No goals yet from Mark Flecken, but that maybe is to come.
Yeah.
So, but Alisson at 5.4 is as cheap as you're ever going to get the Liverpool goalkeeper, I think. So that's where I want to head to. But yeah, Nottingham Forest is going to be super happy. I don't know if there's too much from a fantasy point of view from either teams that's new. People maybe were looking to come off Bomo, but yeah, good win for Forest.
Yeah, look, really good couple of wins for Nottingham Forest because I think they have been relying on Wood for the top end output and have just won 2 games, scoring 2 goals in each, and he hasn't scored any of the 4 goals. That's good, right? If you've got other people
considering every week we say that when Forest score, it's going to be him, isn't it? It's going to be involved, isn't he? And then he isn't.
If you've got other people beginning to chip in, then that's great. Elanga's obviously scored in 2 in a row. I think the headline out of this though is that the Forest changed shape, so it went to a back 3. I actually watched all of the first half of this on Saturday, to see how they played it out and if it was actually a back three, because I'm kind of unfamiliar with Morato. Didn't know if maybe he might be pushed into midfield possibly, or even if Murillo, I'm sure, probably could play as a six if desperate. No, definitively a back three with Aina and Williams as wing backs. And you looked at the midfield too of Gibbs White playing a deeper role as like more like an 8 alongside Anderson. And you thought, well, I'm a bit worried for them there because Brentford have obviously good runners from that area. But then obviously with the Flyers, Elanga and Hudson-Odoi behind Chris Wood. The game narrowed up. So Elanga and Hudson-Odoi were more infield than often you would expect. That's down to obviously the system, with Williams and Aina able to advance. And obviously one has assisted the other. For the person who tweeted me and said that Nico Williams should not get the assist because his intended target was Chris Wood, by the way, Chris Wood doesn't touch the ball and neither does anybody else. So it's just Williams to Aina and Williams gets the assist. That's unquestionable. I tried to think, why did Forest do this though? It took me a while to think about it, because doing good run, doing really well, played a back four almost predominantly throughout this season. Why now go to a back three for Brentford away? One of his conclusion would maybe be, well, Brentford's home form has been so good this season that we want to go a little bit more defensive and defend with a 5. That's a possibility, but as you and I kept saying, look at the fixtures a little bit more. Brentford have played nobody at home and played everybody away, basically. I wondered about putting an extra aerial in, because Brentford obviously a physical opponent. And I think what I might have stumbled upon was confusion. Might have been the reason for this, because Brentford so much like to go man-to-man off the ball and be aggressive. So I think I was confused when I saw the Forest team. Maybe Thomas Frank was a little bit. And therefore, to set up against that might have been a little bit more difficult in terms of his preparation. I don't think he could have thought Forest are going to rock up with a back three. So I think it probably played against Brentford for a while, thinking, oh, we need to work this out differently, because they're super aggressive off the ball. And I think that played against them a little bit on the day as well. Brilliant from Nuno. Yep. Absolute credit. I don't think that's necessarily now, that's it, that's a back three against Tottenham. Though the fact that Nicolas Dominguez came on and picked up his 5th yellow card might aid that a little bit, that they might go with the same. But Gibbs White and Anderson as a 2, I keep thinking, yeah, off the ball with the way we play is very different stylistically to Brentford. That would be a concern. So I think he'll change it back up and bring someone like Yates back into the team, I should imagine. From the fantasy element, I mean, Elanga, I guess, has scored 2 in a row. You could put his name in the hat. Chris Wood is obviously going to be of interest to people. I think I'll just have a little bit of an awareness on Wood. Next fixture is brilliant against Tottenham. It's pretty much the best fixture you could have at the moment from a defensive player, and I mean that genuinely. But afterwards, you've got Everton away, Wolves away, new manager, Liverpool at home. I'm not sure how good that run is, actually. Then there's Southampton at home, and then the fixtures get tougher again. He has overperformed expectation this season. He's still under consideration for me, because I still think, despite not scoring in the last 2, he's the clear talisman. But I'm not sure if the run is quite as good as it looks for him specifically. Should we just go back and buy Bumo again to replace Saka? It's an option.
No chance.
Why no chance?
No, it is an option. Don't get me wrong. There's no chance for me. I just think I'd rather go to Jota or Diaz at the moment, rather than go to Bumo.
The irony is, for those who've held, you're still holding now, aren't you?
Yeah,
I think so, because you've probably got
no
priorities in other
Saka
areas,
or Cunha, or other problems to fight, other fires to put out for sure.
Yeah. Arsenal, City, Liverpool, next 3 home games, but Brighton and Southampton 2 away games. That's their next 5 fixtures. Problems defensively now as well. Obviously, Ethan Pinnock injured and out. We don't know the extent of that yet. Sepp Vandenberg also missed out, but we think that's a minor problem. But yeah, taking Pinnock out of that backline's just not good for your prospects of Flecken points, mate.
No. Good. What about Jacob Murphy as a Bukayo Saka replacement, James? He's tearing it up.
Someone just clipped that sentence.
4.9 million, returned again, goal and an assist, 2 games in a row. What a player. Look, Ipswich 0 and Newcastle 4 hat trick for Alexander Isak. Had other opportunities as well. There's enough to be said about Isak, and we've said plenty. The guy is balling at 8.9. He's at 35%. I still think there's some room for his ownership to go up, and people will still be making
You've
that
got
move.
to stop doing that, Suj.
What? Looking at the ownership.
Yeah, because if you look at that, you look at Isak and Haaland's ownership is basically the same on the FPL website. Haaland did not even register for me in terms of effective. You can't even celebrate his blanks anymore if you don't own him.
Where are we
irrelevant.
seeing live ownership, James?
Right, EO, Isak, he's now, I think he's going to push like up towards sort of 70, 80% now, I think, by the time we hit the next deadline. And Haaland is non-existent.
Which website gives you live
FPL.
EO? But that's only when your game week has started, right? Or
yeah, once you see it, yeah, but you could look back at the last game week and see what Isak's EO was, can't you? You can look at the top 10k and stuff.
I think for me, he was at 80%.
There you go.
Here we go.
So he's bigger than 35%, isn't it?
No, yeah, but then EO is also based on the people around you as opposed to the entire playing.
I did also see, and quite understandably on Saturday, a handful of people had captained Alexander Isak. Big celebrating. Mo stuck his middle finger up at you for Christmas and said, "No, you're not. You just can't have no fun with this game, can you?" But for those who did punt it, like I know he's ended up scoring less than Salah, but well done for taking that punt. Because I didn't think that Newcastle would go there and do that. I said to you on Friday that I thought if Liam Delap had been available, I might have tipped Ipswich up to win. And I will repeat the words. I said, then no one goes to Portman Road and twats Ipswich. Well, it does help when you score after like 20 seconds, as say like Tottenham did at Southampton, and then the game becomes very, very easy. That's helpful. But yeah, they got well beat. They massively missed the lap. I watched all this back on Saturday night. They really struggled for a focal point up top, and defensive brittleness was clear to see. Forget the kind of the error of Muric giving it out and then Gimrez winning it back. It just looks so vulnerable defensively anyway. The Murphy goal, someone get a block in. Isak's hat-trick goal, anyone want to get a block in? Yeah, look vulnerable. I think Jacob Greaves will come back in for the Arsenal game, would be my take. Now there's that excuse to do that, but you wouldn't want to play him in that. And you couldn't foresee them getting anything at Arsenal now. And I think that's alarming now because that psychologically they've been well done over, and as said, that's not happened. And now you go from, well, no one's really done them over at Portman Road, and now you go, it's Christmas, they haven't won a home game. Yeah, if you're at that level, you don't win a home game, you've got very little chance of staying up in this league. Yeah. And that's problematic for them. So they've also got Sam Morsy suspended at Arsenal this weekend, which won't help. Obviously, Delap will be back available, but yeah, I mean, to be honest, that would look like a banker to nil Arsenal victory on Friday night, wouldn't it?
Yes, without a doubt. Like I've been really tempted to try and add Timber as a second Arsenal defender for that fixture because I think there's a good opportunity for clean sheets there. I don't see myself adding. I mean, I've got two Newcastle already in Hall and Isak. I don't see myself adding a third.
You're not adding Jacob Murphy then as your Saka replacement? I thought he was talking it up.
No, I was asking you the question, James. Why you are not? Is he not on the? Is he not an option for people?
I just think as well.
My question is, what is he going to stay in the team? Because if he's going to stay in the team, I think he is a conversation to be had because it frees you up a ton of money. But I just don't know where you spend the money.
At the moment, yes, he is because clearly, and I think
it's 4 starts in a row.
I think it's been this way pretty much for all of the last year, and if not longer, actually. I think back to when they beat my team 6-1. That's 20 months ago. He played right wing in that game. So the balance is nearly always better when he plays. I have one big bit of caution here, right? Newcastle have been looking at buying a player in that position for as long as I just said that period, the 20 odd months, right? Since Almiron's form kind of dipped. There is nothing here for me to guarantee you that Newcastle will not get someone to play right wing when the January transfer window opens in 2 weeks. So to invest in Murphy, sure, it looks good on paper, but we got to start thinking about these things now. You buy a footballer at this moment for FPL, could it be that this person gets replaced by a new signing? That has to be a possibility for Murphy.
Yeah, and Aston Villa, Man United, Spurs is the next three.
For What I mean is for other players at that value, your Diallos, your Rogers, your Enzo Fernandez, you want to throw a Langer into the hat. Is that like a concern at the moment? Maybe Alanga's a rotationable player anyway, bad example. But with Murphy, you could specifically look at that and go Newcastle might buy a player in that position.
Yeah,
So,
no
for
doubt.
me.
And their next three, like I said, Villa, United, Spurs, it's not fill your boots time necessarily. It's more.
For the small handful of people that own him, you keep and you keep running with it. That's fine. I'm not.
We did talk about
it.
These are all the people that have held him since game week 1, maybe.
I would more look at Anthony Gordon, mate.
Yeah, it depends what budget you have.
Would Gordon justify right now playing the money over Murphy in the example just on what we've seen recently? Well, arguably no, but many of us have got money to burn at this moment. And what I would say about the next three, which I think are big games for Newcastle because there's other teams like Bournemouth, Forest doing exceptionally well at the moment. But I think Newcastle would look at the next three opponents and think those are most likely the opponents to finish fifth. Is the most likely, and they've got them all in a row. Villa at home, United away, Tottenham away. Do I want to look at double Newcastle offence for say Manchester United away next Monday? No, maybe it might not be the worst play. And the other interesting thing about Newcastle is really good run of fixtures again then after those three games. So it's Wolves at home, Bournemouth at home, Southampton away, Fulham at home, City away still fine for the offensive one. Arguably then gets more difficult from Nottingham Forest at home afterwards to go to Liverpool in 27. So I think for the offensive ones particularly, I would rather punt Gordon than Foden. Let me put it that way for you at this moment.
Okie dokie.
I don't think I'd be going there.
Nah.
Lewis Hall, bonus point, 4-0 win.
No.
With no attacking returns.
To be clarified, James, a late bonus point. Like it was added yesterday, I think. It was one of those that crept up after all was said and done. But it still counts.
Remind me to talk about bonus points when we get to the Fulham game.
Okie dokie. Effective EO on Isak, James, for clarity. For top 10k, he's at 53% and his ownership is 35%. It's not as huge a gap as I potentially thought. Erling Haaland, same ownership, 35%. EO is 10%. Effective EO is 10%.
It's nothing.
So, yeah.
Doesn't even matter. Haaland is not hurting you if you don't own.
No.
And that's not going to change.
By the same token, Isak at 50% is still benefiting me, and there's quite a way to go before he would get to that territory where it's like, meh.
1 point on Saka. I said this a little bit about Bumo a few weeks ago, and people selling Bumo, and it was a lot of, I don't know who to buy at the same value. Is it Bowen? Is it Gordon? Is Jota's unavailable? Is it Diaz? And same sort of consideration happening now, right? Because you keep going down the pricing and going, no, don't love any of them. The best Bukayo Saka replacement, if you do not own him, is Alexander Isak.
Well, yeah, spread the money elsewhere.
If you don't own him, and I realise, and I genuinely hate this because it's like, I've missed Leicester and Ipswich, now go and buy. But you didn't know that Bukayo Saka was going to get injured. Don't be stubborn about it. If you don't own him, that is the best replacement at cheaper than Bukayo Saka in the game. In pre-season, I'd said he was probably the most underpriced player in the game. I think people forget that he outscored Watkins last season, despite the fact that Watkins scored so well in FPL. There was a lot to do with assists on that. His goals returned per minute is a joke for the level with respect to Newcastle, the level of team he's playing at. He is someone I felt in pre-season was capable of being the highest scoring player in this game. He's not going to be that because there's an Egyptian king who is just untouchable at the moment. But in terms of how many points is he off of Haaland, Suj? How many is it now?
Overall for the season?
He's 5 points behind Haaland.
There you go.
I genuinely would not be surprised if those two players stayed fit for the rest of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if Isak outscores him.
Yeah,
now,
there was
one caveat on Isak is he probably won't stay fit.
No, exactly that. There was a debate. Look, we've got these two good fixtures, and then let's make a decision. He's playing that well that there isn't a decision. He stays in the squad. For me, and for you. And yeah, I agree. Like, don't try and replace Bukayo Saka with a midfielder. You can spread the money to Isak, Trent if you fancy it. Find players in other positions that maybe give you better value that you might be missing out on.
He's 14 attacking returns, Isak, from 15 starts this season. He was 25 attacking returns, and by the way, that's 21 goals from 27 starts last season.
Yeah, it's so consistent.
Yeah. Yeah.
West Ham 1, Brighton 1, James. We'll move on to this game. Ended up being what was described, because I managed to catch highlights. Like I said, I was travelling back to the mighty United Kingdom, so didn't get to watch it live. First half sounded like just boring, and second half came into a little bit of life, but again, probably not the game of the weekend, I would say. Not probably. Yeah, thank God to Fulham and Southampton for making it not the shittest game of the weekend.
Paquetá suspended.
Oh, is he? What happened? Did he get a yellow card?
Yeah. I mean, is Southampton away next? Do you think it might have been deliberate?
No. I don't think it's deliberate. I just think he just gets a lot of yellow cards. Like, as in, he's good for... I wonder if you just put a bet on him to get a yellow card in a lot of games, he'll just end up winning net based on the odds. He's just a yellow card machine.
It's only his 5th of the season. I think probably the headline one on this from West Ham's perspective was a start finally for Nicholas Füllkrug up front. Nothing to kind of write home about in terms of expected chance or anything, but it's a change of dynamic, and I think that will continue now. So for Bowen owners, yes, you're probably back on the right now. The impact of that is you can expect Kudus more on the left, less minutes for Somerville. Kudus better in more central areas or right, in my opinion, than left. Bowen, I don't think it hugely impacts whether it's right or up front. He can obviously be more creative from deeper. The one thing about Füllkrug is, if the delivery is right into the box, he is a menace if the delivery is right. But that's all he is, really. So
I think the problem here is Somerville. Of those attacking players, Bowen is clearly head and shoulders the standout, right? He's talisman. Not only that, he's taking responsibility. He's the one creating anything. He's direct. We've seen him. He's just chipping away consistently with returns. So I think Bowen is the standout. But of the rest, the next best player for liveliness has been Somerville, and he's the one that's missed out because of Füllkrug. I think the fans want Somerville in the team, James. So Paquetá dropping out probably allows Somerville to come back in, Kudus to move to the middle, and then
too much though. Somerville, Kudus, Bowen, Füllkrug. Is it too much?
It's only the difference of Paquetá out, Somerville in, and move Kudus to the middle.
But Paquetá's not a runner. Like, he's not going to like break.
He'll
like
drop
desperate
back
to
in.
get in the box. He's a footballer who sometimes wants to go and get the ball. You want Kudus to sort of fill that sort of role. You're not kind of ball
Against
dominant
Southampton,
anyway, right?
You might be able to get away with it.
You probably
Against
get away with
Southampton,
anything against Southampton.
You might be able to.
Sure.
Liverpool, completely different kettle of fish, but I think we'll line up quite differently for that. Anyway, it's still hard to recommend any West Ham assets at the moment, particularly because after Southampton, you walk into Liverpool and Man City, and then Fulham.
Yeah.
3 difficult games. Bowen, if you own, just keep with. Like, he's chipped in with an assist and a bonus point again here. He's fine to hold, especially through Southampton. And you're probably looking at other problems and fires to put out anyway. There's no way you'd look at Bowen as a solution to the Saka problem, like I said, because of the fixtures, or even Kudus. So I think it is what it is with West Ham. And
the only thing I'd say is, the one thing that Bowen will be king for you over many of the other options is the minutes.
He'll play.
He'll get it for you. And if you're really concerned about that, the next, I totally get people. The first thing to do is, all right, what's next? Oh, West Ham got Southampton. Oh, Bowen, Kudus, etc. Liverpool conceded 8 in their last 3 games. So how terrible is it for Bowen at the wheel? I mean, Bowen has historically done okay against Liverpool in the past. So if people wanted to do that, fine. But I think longer term, then it's City. Fulham doesn't screen points. Neither does Crystal Palace. Then after that, you got Villa away and then Chelsea away. Yeah, I think if you invest in Bowen, it's really short term. For those who are already on, they're not selling. The only West Ham player to recommend is the goalkeeper.
Yeah, Flappy.
Because you want a second choice goalkeeper or something.
And Brighton?
On that, just quickly, I guess you play him over a lot of goalkeepers this week.
The Southampton game you play him, yeah.
Well, I'm not playing him over Raya, am I?
But you said over most goalkeepers.
Yeah, well, Raya ain't most.
No, to be fair, it's Ipswich, isn't it, for him? For Raya.
Do you trust West Ham to keep a clean sheet at Southampton? New manager bounce? You're getting beat, aren't you?
I don't know. No, I feel fairly confident with the Southampton game. I feel zero confidence for anything after, but I do feel a bit of confidence with the Southampton game. It's nice to see just getting on the score sheet. We're building a bit of momentum. I mean, it's simple pleasures of not losing a game 3 in a row now and stuff that we haven't done all season. So yeah, I'm backing us to do all right against Southampton, James.
For Brighton,
João Pedro owners are getting annoyed.
Yeah. Can I just say, just in case I forget, that's a red card on Estupiñán?
Oh yes.
Oh, sorry, from Estupiñán.
On
I don't know he gets away with that.
2 feet in the air. I don't know, James.
Anyway,
We've given up trying to figure out VAR's decision.
João Pedro owners had this absolutely brilliant run of fixtures, and what have we had? Like 1 assist.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, that's frustrating. A little bit like 8 Norrie. I seem to have somehow found myself up 0.4 on the bastard as well. I am not selling before Brentford at home.
Simple.
Yeah. After that, he's on the chopping block. Now, for me, that's about thinking about what? So, Wood, I think, is the obvious one to think about, all talisman, what we'd said. But if you want to go Wood, I think you want to do it now. You don't want to miss the Tottenham game. I don't care what colour it looks like on your fixture ticker. If you're going Wood, you don't want to miss the Tottenham game. So I understand the temptation of that. I don't want to sell João Pedro before Brentford at home, because I think without Pinnock as well, there's been vulnerabilities in them all season anyway. Then there's other players who don't appeal next week that might open up for me. I already mentioned one in Ollie Watkins. I think Jean-Philippe Mateta is another one maybe that might open up. My big concern with him is I'm not sure if he starts in game week 19 because of the turnaround. Bournemouth on the Thursday, and then they've got Southampton at home on the Sunday. And you have to factor these sort of things in over this exact period over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, someone like Mateta's another one. While people, I've not got Isak, I get him. I've not got Jackson, I get him. Sneak into something like that. Watkins, Mateta's the sort of thing maybe I'm thinking. Solanke, another option. What I want to do, whatever I do this week, I want to leave myself the option to be able to go from João Pedro at least towards Solanke's level. So to give me kind of a choice on Solanke's got Wolves at home this weekend. Solanke, Mateta, that range. I might even leave it, like I said, all the way to possibly go to Watkins. But yeah, I think I'm binning it after this one would be the plan, I think, boss. You?
Not sure yet. Depends what other fires I've got to put out, to be honest with you. Depends what other fires I've got to put out. I might end up just benching him, because what I'm looking at now is, when we talk about Arsenal in a second, I've talked about buying Wood a little bit more. There's Gabriel Jesus is available. So I'm talking about buying Jota, Jesus, Trent maybe. If I'm stacking my team with these kind of players, it might be that Pedro is just benchable, and I'll deal with it when I need to deal with it, rather than having to sell him right now.
What João Pedro needs is Welbeck.
Any news on that? Do we know when he might be available?
Yeah, Fabian Hertz said on Friday that he's had an ankle problem. Basically, he doesn't know. He said it could be one that's quick, and it might be one that takes a little bit longer. So it's basically just need it to settle down. But it could be that Welbeck's back this week quite suddenly. It could also be we don't see him for a month. So no, that's not going to help you.
Okie dokie, let's talk about Crystal Palace 1, Arsenal 5. I just mentioned there Gabriel Jesus. I mean, he's only 0.2 more than Chris Wood. If you fancied it, he's off the back of 3 goals, 2 assists. Sorry, what am I talking about? It was 5 goals in the week, but 2 goals, 1 assist in the game, 16-pointer. You reckon he stays in the team? Probably, right? Particularly with Saka out. I think
it should. Me and Clayton discussed this on Friday on Patreon, saying like, look, same opponent. You just want to run with it. Now he scored 5 in 2. He got one of the weakest defences up next at the Emirates. Nice little break of 6 days to the game. Like, why would you not just try and run with his confidence?
Yep.
I think you would. And that makes him a prospect for a buy, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'd consider it.
It's so short term. If you invest in Gabriel Jesus, you cannot think more than 1 game at a time. And also, I can't guarantee you he starts on Friday. My opinion would be I'd find it strange that if he came back out of the team. But then, does Havertz definitely play? because Rice obviously didn't start
Yeah,
on Saturday.
that was a rest, right, for Rice.
So does Rice get another rest? Does
No,
Havertz get a rest?
I mean Rice has come on and created a goal and scored a goal.
I mean, that would feel logical to me, is that Rice gets a rest. But anyway, thinking longer term
He just had
about
a
it,
rest though.
Havertz a
Sorry, Havertz
rest.
has a rest. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
thinking longer term about it is, sure, you could go, because people are saying, oh, put Havertz in as the left 10, which he did quite well for long periods last season until they kind of finally moved him to the number 9. Keep Jesus up front. That'll add a little bit more in terms of the goal scoring impact, whilst obviously Saka's unavailable as well. But then what? Rice is a single pivot. Thomas Partey played at the weekend and Arsenal won comfortably. I think there's something in that. So what you're now going to tell me there's a chance that they're not going to play with Rice? Well, clearly most games they are. Over this period, Ipswich at home, he can do whatever he wants with the team. I'm sure it's not going to matter. For games afterwards, it will do. So, like, do I see Jesus like staying in the team long term? I think it will literally be the case. First game he blanks, he's out. That'd be my take at the moment. And Havertz might well get a rest on Friday night. So that's that off the table, I think, because that would be a possible solution for me. But I might look at that afterwards. Like if Jesus blanks against Ipswich, okay, right, that might be it. Again, Havertz might be back on the table for me 19. That might be feel weird buying after Ipswich, but it's just trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together to think, maybe doesn't start this one this weekend. Defensively, is still absolutely fine to invest. I would say that William Saliba had a shaky first half, particularly. Lewis Skelly, I think, has done really well for them at left back, but Calafiori obviously is going to come back into the team. They're essentially nearly fully fit now, bar obviously Ben White, and obviously Saka's got the new injury. But defensively, they've nearly got the bodies back now. Timber's definitely part of that best back four for me. If you want to spread the money this week, I mean, if you're selling Saka and you haven't got Arsenal defensive, I'd prioritise that even over Isak, I think.
What about if you had the money, if you're selling Saka, to go to Trent over an Arsenal defender?
Can we
Like
talk about
Timber.
Trent? Can we talk about Trent when we get to Liverpool?
Well, it's a debate to be had. So let's put a pin in that
I've
question
got a
when we talk about
stat that I
Trent.
don't want to do in the middle of the Arsenal game. I want to do it during the Liverpool
Okay,
game.
fair play. Well, let's keep it moving then, so that we can get to that game, because we've got quite a few to get through. Nothing from Palace of interest.
No, just a couple more bits. One, Ismail Assar, I think, is on agenda for people looking for a replacement. Sure, you didn't want to buy for Arsenal. He scored again. Lovely finish, by the way. That's the one. Mateta might appeal for someone like me because I think it will largely get overlooked. I think he's got like 1 in 10 though. Kind of be punting in the fixtures. And again, I could easily see Alwyn Ketcher starts against Southampton at the weekend. I was surprised that Trevor Chalobah didn't play. Even more so because Daniel Munoz was suspended. Daniel Munoz obviously be back for this one. Daniel Munoz is massively on radar for me over the next couple of weeks. Probably not to buy this week, but yeah, in time for me, I could see me buying Munoz on Friday or Saturday in time for game week 19 and Southampton at home. Down to 4.7, underlying really good. He's massively on radar for me, Daniel Munoz. And the fact he's had that suspension has kind of held it up where investment stopped. Because remember, he scored, 2 in a row before? And then he should have scored at Brighton as well. So Munoz on radar for me. On Arsenal, we'll talk more on the Clayton and James show tomorrow and get Clayton's view properly on what he thinks Arsenal will do next. Because solutions in terms of replacing Saka certainly lie from within. Martinelli, Trossard, Odegaard, all potential options. Martinelli did quite well going off the right. I don't think Clayton likes him there. I don't think it's a guarantee that it sticks. Another option to get Jesus continuing in the team is just to play him on the right, Havertz at the 9, and then Rice back as the left 8, if you will. And then it's Martinelli or Trossard still fighting each other on the left. So for me at the moment, unless Clayton can give me something that he thinks is definitive tomorrow, it's no on the Arsenal players for me. I don't think Odegaard will do enough. Brilliant footballer for fantasy. I don't think he will do enough. I think Martinelli would be punting. But I can understand that pretty much the majority of these choices at the moment feel like a punt.
Yeah, we almost forget Raheem Sterling. I know he wasn't available at the weekend, was he? But he's
Well,
only
would it
yellow
shock you if
flagged with a
Sterling
knock.
started for Ipswich at home?
No, not
Yeah,
at all.
it's an Sterling. I think he's got. I've read it as just a minor knock. So, I mean, if they ever want to give him a start, he probably is Friday night, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. If he's available, the big fitness is
If
a
he's
big
available.
question on that. Yeah, cool. Let's go to the Sunday games, James. We can rattle through some of these a little bit. There
And
wasn't a huge
just one
amount.
more thing, I
Go
just
on.
thought of it as well, just to say it's important. This goes for a lot of teams. Obviously, Arsenal are playing Friday. You know, but how long Saka out for? It's every chance you're getting nothing between now and deadline because Arteta's press conference will probably be on Boxing Day. So unless it's 9 o'clock in the morning, there's a good chance you're not getting anything before deadline. And team news just generally this week is going to be really sketchy because everyone's going to train on Christmas Day and no one's doing press conferences on Christmas Day. So if anyone picks up a knock in training, yeah,
You're
every
gonna know.
chance you ain't going to hear about it.
Everton nil, Chelsea nil. That's 5 clean sheets in 6 for Everton. 2 Arsenal and Chelsea. I mean, like I said, I watched quite a few periods of this game. Chelsea clearly were dominant. You see that in the possession, 75%. But chance creation just was really meh. They just didn't feel like they were able to get any kind of rhythm of like wave after wave after wave after attack. Branthwaite was good, solid. Even Tarkovsky, Mikalenko had a good game. Just didn't feel like they were going to be able to break them down. And as it got closer towards the end of the game, it just felt inevitable that it was going to be more and more difficult for Chelsea to get that breakthrough, and it was going to peter out to a 0-0. Another blank for Cole Palmer, though. Oh well, yeah. I mean, he's
So
given us so much. We can't be mad with him.
no, just on Jared Branthwaite, obviously he's had injury problems this season. Now played 90 minutes in 6 in a row. Kept 5 clean sheets, as you said,
Yeah,
in those 6 games.
yeah. And obviously this weekend they've had the takeover confirmed, so it is no more cloud over Everton.
Yep.
Friedkin have taken over, so it feels. Look, if you can come off 2 week like it's 2-0, 0-0's boring, but it's against Arsenal and Chelsea. You got to be happy with that, and I wouldn't back against them keeping a clean sheet against Man City if they really wanted to. If they defend like that again, they've got
I
the
wouldn't back
capability.
against them going to Man City and winning 1-0, mate.
I'm not talking about whether they'll score because they've scored fuck all goals, and again they haven't in this game. But defensively, they're still a good investment. Are Everton? Chelsea struggled a little bit.
I can
Everyone can
already
have an
see
off day.
that. I can already see that Ilman and Dyer 86th minute counter attack. I can already see it in my mind, which then leads to a corner from which Tarkovsky will score from. That corner won't be taken from Ashley Young, who is suspended. That is a big blow because James Coleman will play it right back, and to be honest, Guardiola should be playing Doku left wing. But Pep knows better than me. No, I'm not looking at Everton assets at this moment. I think Mikalenko at 4.3. I mean, it's kind of ideal long term as a backup player, and as proven on the last 2, just get clean sheets against Arsenal and Chelsea.
Mm.
They'll get a clean sheet at any time if they get it right defensively. Goalkeeper's doing really well. Jordan Pickford as an asset, 4.9, 73 points. That's more than Trent, by the way. Not looking at offensively, despite joking about Manchester City. For Chelsea, disappointing one. They do historically have a bad record at Goodison Park. I don't think they've won there since they won the title in 2017, I don't think. And conditions weren't the best. So I don't think under the circumstances, it's not a disastrous result for Chelsea, but probably disappointment in terms of their creativity levels. That said, there's a bonus of the clean sheet, but if you're going to get one, Everton's one that you'd sort of fancy.
Yeah.
Colwell, I think, is the one because I don't think there's enough to value going 0.6 more for Cucurella, who will be back from suspension for the game against Fulham. Gusto, I don't know what the impact of Cucurella's return is on him playing or not playing. I suspect it might just be Cucurella just back into for Gusto for the Fulham game. Either way, you're going to get rotation. Don't be surprised if you invest in Chelsea if there's quite a big rotation at Ipswich. But the one good bit for Chelsea is that unlike, say, when they mass rotated at Southampton, remember their schedule was Sunday, Wednesday, and then I'm pretty sure it was the Saturday afterwards. No, sorry, it was the Sunday after. So they had Sunday Villa, Wednesday Southampton, then the Sunday at Tottenham. This time it's 4 day break, obviously to the Fulham game, and then another 4 days to Ipswich. But I don't think we could be shocked if Jackson, even Robert Sanchez, is left out at Ipswich in game week 19. But I'm pretty confident he'll pick his strongest team for Fulham at home in game week 18. And obviously, if you don't have Cole Palmer, then that's. Did we need to say that about Saka replacements? Like, if you haven't got Salah, maybe
Cole
think
Palmer
about
could
it.
blank 5 weeks in a row, and he's still going to be in for me. Let's talk about Fulham nil, Southampton nil, 2-0 nils in a row. You said you wanted to talk about BPS from this game. What annoyed you about this?
It's not annoyed me. I couldn't give a shit. But someone asked me to talk about it because.
Well, all the BPS has gone to Southampton.
No. I recommend people listen in more detail to the discussion I had with Clayton on the Clayton and James show last Wednesday about them kind of urgently needing to fix the bonus structure. Not what the changes they made is fine. I don't have a problem with that.
It's the 24 hours after retrospective stuff.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because yesterday, when they updated the bonus points, Anthony Robinson dropped out of the bonus to give him a BPS score of 28, which puts him fourth on the list from yesterday. Ramsdale, Bednarek and Harwood-Bellis all above him. Right,
yeah,
fine.
and Wood.
There's people telling me that they've worked it out that Robinson should be on 32 BPS. I haven't worked it out. I ain't got the time in my life to do that sort of thing. It's not that important to me. I've never worked BPS out for a player ever in my life. I'm not going to start doing it now. But there's a few people saying, yeah, look, Robinson should be on 32. Now, if that was the case, and you had bonus changing 24 hours after the final match of a match day, guess what? There's every chance Anthony Robinson would be finished this game week on 9 rather than 6. FPL needs to sort that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I think for clarity for listeners that maybe didn't listen to the Clayton and James show, it's a case of what you mentioned is exactly that. If there was a Monday night game tonight,
this chance Robinson would be on
everybody's
9 points this week.
BPS from yesterday would still have time to be updated because they call it at the end of the
once Opta have changed any of their stats
on the day of the final fixture. So Opta can change all of the games from yesterday today, but because the final fixture was yesterday, finished at 6:30 or whatever, no changes today. If there was a game tonight, changes today, and that's where it's a bit of a pain.
It's also worth acknowledging that Opta might update their stats today, and Robinson coming down to 28 could be correct, and therefore no bonus. That's also a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that the fact that the scheduling of fixtures shouldn't affect when BPS is or isn't, because that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Unless if you're on the last day of the game week, there's a chance your bonus points aren't right. I don't think the game should be like that, in essence.
Quite a few changes for Fulham in this game. Obviously, some enforced, some less.
Yeah, it was nice to
so.
see Josh King, who we still can't believe never gotten a cap for England, back after all these years in the Fulham lineup. Suj.
Well, he's only 17 years old, so you're talking
and this
about
one can play for England,
and probably will. The fact that he's getting into the Fulham team in midfield, right-sided, that age means there's definitely a talent there. Raul Jimenez, who would have been my potential replacement for Cunha, rested, let's say, for Muniz. So happy that didn't end up playing out because obviously Cunha got on the score sheet.
Well, the good news with that is you've got more chance of him playing the fixtures now. That's
I'm not
one good bit. But I don't think it's improbable that you might have Jimenez now plays at Chelsea. That feels like a certainty. And then Muniz plays Bournemouth next Sunday.
Yeah, I'm avoiding it now. I don't want it anymore.
No,
I had it last week. Don't want you no more.
So.
Yeah.
No, Emil Smith-Rowe missed out, by the way, with a minor knock, which is a shame for those who own, because with Andreas Pereira suspended, every chance he was looking at a good 90 minutes here. And I think Fulham probably missed him because they'd lacked for creativity here. And Southampton shut the door, right? Mm-hmm. No, you're not having that. More of a 5-4-1 block off the ball. I don't think you're looking at investment in either of these two teams now. One, with Southampton, we obviously need to see the impacts of the new manager and what's going to happen. And obviously Fulham go to Chelsea this week. So I would say if people need to find money for a different move, which seems difficult to imagine with the Saka scenario, that yes, investing in Castagne at 4.2 is fine. I also think Anderson will probably be back in the team for the Chelsea game this week. But then I'm going to guess most people wouldn't want to play this week. Like, I'm going to play Colwell over Castagne this week, based on the two teams playing each other and there being more probability of a Chelsea clean sheet than a Fulham clean sheet. Robinson's a harder one to leave out, admittedly. But I think at this stage, those who've got Robinson, great. But if you wanted to invest in Fulham new, and there are good fixtures after the Chelsea game, I think you just go Castagne at this stage.
Yep. Let's talk about Leicester 0, Wolves 3. I mean, 3 first half goals. There was a lot of talk prior to the game about the amount of shots that Leicester have been giving up against the opposition since Ruud van Nistelrooy came in. They didn't have that many, Wolves. They only had 8 in the game in total, whereas I think it was an average of like 25 per game prior to this that Leicester had been giving up. But they scored from 3 of them. So that doesn't particularly help, and Leicester are a little bit ineffective at the other end. Cunha on the score sheet, praising the people that, grateful for the people who stuck with him, no doubt, and the BPS that he's managed to pick up. Guedes an interesting one. I thought he looked really lively when we played Wolves a few weeks ago, James, and he came off the bench and looked like a really lively prospect, but I didn't know whether he would or wouldn't be getting into the team, or whether or not he'll keep his place in the team.
You're not buying that at 5.3.
Yeah, it's too expensive, but I think he's a good player, so you never know, you might get some consistency in there.
There's every
Wolves
chance
will be really happy.
There's every chance he's going to get a prolonged run with obviously the Cunha situation.
Yeah,
I'd be just as keen to keep an eye on Rodrigo Gomez at 5.2, actually, who really impressed him.
Wing-back, right?
It's a winger, really. Kind of impressed in pre-season. I just wonder how they might set up once Cunha's ban comes into play, if they're going to kind of stick with the system they played yesterday. Could he be the kind of left-sided forward? Maybe. There was a bit of inside word, and I'm careful here. There was a bit of inside word last week that Ait-Nouri had been training as a winger.
Okay.
Could Ait-Nouri be left winger for Wolves? Could Ait-Nouri become the Cunha replacement, as in that kind of left-sided forward position, or would it more likely be they'd shove Rodrigo Gomez inside? Too many bloody Gomez's at this lot, and Ait-Nouri plays wing back. I'll remind you all that Wolves' fixtures are absolutely disastrous, pretty much up to game week 28. But if Ryan Ait-Nouri plays as left-sided forward, people are going to want to look at it again immediately. They will.
Yep.
So just like, don't do that, kids.
I'm just not interested.
I'd rather get a prescription. Good result for Wolves. Doherty played as right-sided centre-back behind Nelson Semedo. Sarr was back in goal. Ultimately, the goals in this game are disastrous from Leicester's perspective.
Bad defending. Goalkeeping.
I'm more concerned for Leicester now than I was prior to Cooper being sacked. I just think that in the 3 games we'd seen previously, the amount of chances they give up was a little bit scary. They've conceded shit goals here. They'll probably be helped by Hermansen coming back in goal as and when. The choice of Vestergaard and Cody as your centre-backs in this level of football is frightening to me, when there's just no pace between either of them at all. And they're under too much pressure and too much duress. The midfield is weak. It's going to miss Wilfred and Diddy over forthcoming weeks. I'm very concerned for them now. There's every chance they get absolutely twatted at Anfield on Thursday night. Anything less than a 3-goal defeat, I think would be a result.
Agreed.
Cannot see them getting anything now.
Yeah, it's 3 defeats in a row now, isn't it, for Leicester? And the game prior, they beat us. They shouldn't have won that game in terms of chances.
This is a little bit of a danger. I spoke about this with Everton before the weekend as well, about ultimately when Sean Dyche has some bad results, the freaking group are going to move him on. That's not who they want. Or they'll let it run till the end of the season. That's the best thing they can do, is let it run to the end of the season. Because I'm pretty certain Sean Dyche will keep Everton up. Be careful what you wish for. Everton's quality of player is not good enough. If you have a manager that comes in and wants to play a more expansive, open brand of football, they're in trouble. That might be what's happening here with Leicester. I'm concerned for them.
Yeah, me too. I just see that gap, the cushion that they had over the bottom 3 shrinking.
Obviously, if they'd won this game, the difference between them and Wolves would be huge.
5 points, and now it's only 2.
No, it'd be 8, wouldn't it? because you're taking 3 off Wolves and putting
Oh,
3 on
sorry.
Leicester.
Yeah. It would have
So
been.
they'd
You're
have been
right
8
there.
points clear of Wolves.
Which
Now
is
it's
big. Now it's
2.
2. It's a game minute now. Yeah, difficult.
Yeah, and all the honeymoon period of Van Nistelrooy just feels like it's sunk and pulled out them. Liverpool, Manchester City, Villa, next 3.
Let's talk about Manchester United 0, Bournemouth 3. I saw a great post that someone put out on the last 2 Man United Bournemouth games. I think it was probably the last 2 at Old Trafford, having a combined XG of like 4 or 5 for Man United, 0 like low for Bournemouth, maybe 2 or 3, but the actual net score being 0-6 to Bournemouth. United still doing this. They're racking up XG. Again, in this game, they've racked up 2.28, but haven't managed to get on the score sheet. So they will be frustrated that they did have chances. A lot of it towards the end, to be fair, where they were like, trying to really get back into it. But they were periods in this game that I watched quite a lot from the first half. I was like, that midfield didn't look good for Manchester United with Ugarte and Kobe Mino. For some reason, Bournemouth were able to dominate that area of the game. And they're sitting, what, 5th in the table now? They've got to be almost...
They're doing fantastic, yeah, they're 5th.
As happy as Nottingham Forest, and you can't deny it.
No. Manager's outstanding. High energy every week. I think a deeper squad than people realise. And what I mean by that is things like, Tyler Adams comes in for this one for Lewis Cook. And it might be Cook with Adams next one, then Christie with Cook afterwards. So they've got 3 good central midfield players, of which they're picking from 2. Tavernier's gone out, and you put someone like Utara in, and that's despite the fact Sinisterra's injured as well at the moment. Unal comes on with Evan Nilsson in the game against you, scores a brilliant free kick.
Yep.
Senesai's been injured, and they've brought Dean Hyson into the team, who's doing absolutely brilliant. They're a little bit like maybe for rotation in the full-back area. Goalkeeper's good, Kepa, and actually even when he missed a couple, Travers went in goal and did pretty well. Yeah, they should not be underestimated. The worst thing you can do with Bournemouth is go, it's Bournemouth, and that's what a lot of people will do. For a club of their size to go and win at Old Trafford 3-0 in consecutive years is madness for them. And if you're a Bournemouth fan listening or watching this, I congratulate you and tip my hat to you. Your manager's not going to be there for much longer.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Look,
I think the next time one of the big one comes up, people be looking at him, not just here, by the way, people back home in Spanish, isn't he? I think
he is. Yeah.
Yeah, there'd be more powerful clubs begin to look at that. That's really good what he's achieving. They've been good for a long period. We dropped the stat, didn't we, about a month ago, that over the last 38 games they would have finished 6th.
Yeah.
This isn't a flash in the pan. This is a good football team, really well structured, strong defensively, and with dangerous, fast players up front. And I'm pretty relieved, despite benching him this week, that Semenyo scored, because I needed that value to hold.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to play him this week now against Crystal Palace, who've just chipped 5 against Arsenal, who I realise will have a couple of players back that will help them. But yeah, really good for Bournemouth. That said, despite the fact it's Palace at home, Fulham away, Everton at home, next 3, they're not like a thrilling set of fixtures. I don't think you're looking for Bournemouth for your Saka replacements. I don't think you're going, it's Semenyo now. I don't think you are.
Yeah, in a strange way, I'm more likely to look at Man United with Diallo and Fernandes. I'm not; they're not high on my list, but they're more likely than any Bournemouth player are to make the cut.
Yeah, Dean Hyson at 4.3, I think is worth the saving on Kirkes. Having now had those 2 goals recently, where he's had kind of hauls in them 15 and 14 pointers, I think, in the 2 games, then that's going to get interest. I think Kirkes isn't worth paying the extra over. There are some that are, you like, yeah, the offensive one. Yeah. I don't think that is actually Kirkes over Hyson. So if people want to go Hyson, good cover. If you bought him this week and you need it, you can play it next to home games of Palace and Everton. I think you'll be looking at it as a rotation, because afterwards it's like Chelsea away, Newcastle away, and you wouldn't be comfortable, I don't think, despite how good they've been playing him in those sort of fixtures. So yeah, Hyson defensively, I don't think I'd invest up front at the moment. Evan Nilsson doesn't appeal to me massively.
There's too many other good options, James. Like Wood, Jesus, even getting Gakpo maybe at Liverpool. All of these kind of players are far more interesting than Evan Nilsson.
For United, Bruno Fernandes will obviously and naturally massively appeal as a replacement for Bukayo Saka. The underlying in the last two, particularly, are extremely high. That does have to factor in. There's a penalty in there against Manchester City, but you might remember before he scored, he missed the one-on-one chance where he dinked it over Edison and went just wide. XGI 0.86 at the weekend, kind of as you said, heavily involved in the game. Should have scored at least once. My big concern with Bruno Fernandes goes back to what you also said, though, about in midfield, it wasn't quite right. And I feel like their default whenever they're chasing a game is going to be to drop him deeper. Because ultimately, the impact players you're bringing on, like Garnacho, you need to find it in a higher position. Xerxes, your Hoyland, whoever they're bringing on, need to find it in a higher area of the pitch. So I feel like there's every chance just very suddenly with Bruno Fernandes you get, hey, he's playing central midfield. It's not he can't return from there. He can. And of course, it's set plays, penalties, all that. But I don't want that if he's going to play centre midfield. I want that if he's going to play higher up. And if he's going to play higher up, I just wonder, well, should I just save 3 million on the other kid that's playing next to him in Diallo? But the other kid also could find himself back at wing back now, I think.
Yeah, I didn't think Malacia played very well. I thought he was error prone, to be honest with you. I don't see him sticking in that team. Yeah, he didn't impress me. I think it's going to end up being an avoid for me. And Diallo's price keeps creeping up where you're like, well, I could have had him at 5.51, 5.2. I don't know if I wanted. When he gets to 5.5, 5.6, you think twice about it.
By the way, his XGI yesterday was higher than Bruno Fernandes's.
Yeah, no doubt.
So if you've gone there, it's not like, oh, you made a mistake. And if people do want to go there and invest in either of those two players, that's absolutely fine. United have some decent fixtures coming up for the offensive guys. I've seen a few people say if I don't buy United now, I'm still going to want to do it in game week 21. And I can understand that view. Everyone wants to target whenever a Southampton come into town. But I had a caution on Bruno and Diallo that they might not continue where they've been recently. At least one of them will. It's not suddenly going to become like Garnacho and Rashford as the 2 10s. Like, it's not going to become that. But it might be that I think either one of them drops back. So, not for me, I don't think. No. I don't think so. But I get it. I just think naturally, it's naturally drawn in people. I've got the money from Saka. Where do I want to go? I look down, the first thing I see is, Bruno Fernandes. Not convinced. What I would say is a caveat for United fans is I was really impressed in what I saw in the first half at Tottenham last week. And I said on our Patreon pod that United are onto a good thing structural wise. The whole team needs overhaul. Manager knows what he's doing. It's going to take quite a bit of time. And you're going to have inconsistencies continue with Manchester United, where do not be surprised if they drop points at Wolves and then beat Newcastle or manage to get a result at Anfield in game week 20, for example. They're going to have inconsistencies, just like another team I know, boss.
Well, indeed. Spurs 3, Liverpool 6. That XG that Liverpool racked up, 5.63, I think it puts it in the top 5 of all time Premier League games. The highest Liverpool.
Is that all it was?
Well, excuse me. Liverpool once racked up 7 in a game, I think, and then most of the others are all in the 5s.
They beat Bournemouth 9-0, and I'm pretty sure Liverpool had a higher XG yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, 11 big chances. It felt like
they did not have 11 big chances yesterday. Sure. No, shut up. Did they really?
SofaScore is telling me they had 11 big chances, James.
Shut the front door.
It felt like they were able to create them at will, kind of, when they decided to. Right. When they decided to put their foot down, like Trent, right, I'm putting it in behind now. You had no answer for it. The level of control in midfield with Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, McAllister, like they were so good. Trent could have had more assists. I felt like your goals were kind of consolation-y type goals where
they all felt like it.
You didn't do anything particularly to hurt them consistently.
Although I bet when it went 5-3, I bet even the Liverpool fans were like, "Are you joking?
Come on, it's 2-0. Yeah, 5-3 is basically 2-0, and you're like, this is not 2-0.
Yeah, but it's not 2-0, is it? Because it's psychological. It's 5-3, and we've conceded 3. So it's not like this team can't score against us.
Again,
5-3 is a very different psychological to a 2-0.
That's very true. But in the end, I think, and also, like, I don't like to be critical of players that are my players, but I did think Sarr and Bissouma were weak To be honest with you, I thought Dragishin as well. It felt like they were letting themselves get bullied a little bit. When the substitutions came, Bergvall was coming on for Sarr, and I was like, you've just been dominated in midfield and you replaced the physical player with a child here. It's only going to get worse.
But he's better on the ball, Bergvall.
He's definitely for creating, yes, but on the other end, I feel like you're going to open yourself up to more chances.
And our big problem was we weren't good enough on the ball. I felt there was a tactical failing actually with us on the ball. I think when I look at the two teams yesterday, and you can say, well, why don't Liverpool get hurt in the same way as Tottenham, right? Because it's not like, I'm thinking this during the game, it's not like Liverpool aren't aggressive with their press in the same way, like, the fullbacks push up. Similar kind of traits.
They were getting the ball back so quick.
How the two teams press. But I thought it was a failure of Tottenham not to drag Maddison in deeper, because Gravenberch was really close to him and had his eye on him a lot. So when Liverpool were going and pressing heavy, when often Gravenberch went and kind of left Maddison, he didn't. Whereas in our shape, Bissouma would just leave whoever's like go too gung ho, and I get that aspect where the criticism is. It's just a little subtle tweak like that. Bissouma's problem is that like 1 week he'd be great and the next week he'd be terrible. He's too yo-yo-y. I'm tired of it. Sarr, remember, he's young and less experienced as well. And I think he facilitates us much better when he plays, actually. He didn't play well yesterday.
No.
Dragishin was a car crash. I mean,
yeah.
The worst goal of the lot is the third goal. You, as a centre-back, you can see it happen. I could see it in the ground. Everyone watching the game on the telly had gone, he's gone for that header and he's got no chance of winning it. Right? He's so indecisive with his choices. And Tottenham had a strategic plan, I think, to use him to play more direct balls yesterday. That's not Christian Romero.
No.
And of course, when the whole team presses high and you've got the fucking tree in goal, you can't sweep a keep. Yeah, your distances are all over the place. So, do you know what? I'm not going to be too critical of Tottenham, because I just think it's going to continue to be a mess until at least we've got a different goalkeeper in goal. I knew you were going to say you have some sympathy for Archie Gray, right?
Yeah. No, Jed Spence actually.
He did well.
Who
ironically,
had a torrid time.
He actually played Salah quite well.
Yeah,
I thought.
I thought so as well.
1v1.
But I just thought everything that was going on around him left him out to hang dry a couple of times. Even Archie Gray, I would probably say, yeah, both of the two of them, I feel a little bit of sympathy for, because they did the best they could. Everything else around them left them out to dry too many times.
No criticism of Archie. No. It's not even his position, man. And he's the one that has to play left-sided centre-back, because the other experienced donkey next to him can't play left-sided centre-back. So, yeah, Chris Wood, don't be selling that this week if you've got... there were still some positives.
Go on.
Kulusevski was got better and better the longer the game went on, and I realised Liverpool might have took their foot off the pedal. He's scored in quite a number of successive games now. He's probably the longest streak he's kind of had, but I'm not convinced it'll ever last with him. But he's playing really well. Goal and assist for Dom, kind of feeding off scraps the majority of the games. I wouldn't go and buy him this week, but he might become a solution for me to come back to, ironically, for Sunday in game week 19 if I'm not comfortable with Mateta or maybe going up to Watkins. It might just go, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to go back to Solanke for a couple of home games and then kind of judge that again afterwards. Maddison, another goal. But it's the same problem with it. He's come off like before the hour and he's not played well. And I've been saying recently, like, where's Brennan Johnson? Something's not right. He's got half hour here. He returns with another attacking return. It's the same shit with the Tottenham players, guys. They are going to spread the returns around. What I can definitely tell you is Heung-min Son is not worth the money. No way. Will he, once every 6-7 games, have a bang moment where he gets 2 goals and assists? Yeah, that will still happen. But by that point, you may have already got really, really long frustrated with him. He would only be an option right now because you've got too much money to know what to do with. I'd probably prefer investing in Kulusevski, Maddison, or even Johnson, if that's what you wanted to do. And ironically, the thing is, despite Tottenham's problems defensively, well, one of the solutions at the moment is just keep scoring goals, guys. So these are options: Maddison, Kulusevski, Johnson. Johnson, if he gets back in the team, I think is the one. But not this week. Judge it after this week. I think Johnson could be a cheeky one to look at for Sunday. That's not going to help anyone for this week. people will be drawn towards Maddison and the returns. I would not be surprised if James Maddison doesn't start on Nottingham Forest.
He was never, despite how high he is on the point scorers list overall and for midfielders, I just have no consideration of him as a Saka replacement. Talk to me about Trent.
His form yo-yos so much, Maddison. Fantasy returns, he's done great this season, so I understand why people want to look at him. You look at the underlying, it's all really, really good. I would say he probably starts at Forest, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. No. Bentancur's back from suspension, which is a bonus for us going into Thursday as well.
Cool. Talk to me about Trent, because I really was impressed with his performance. His delivery was so good on so many occasions that it's made me want to buy him.
Yep, get that. The cross for the first goal, staggering.
And he did the same cross for Salah when I think it was a save, wasn't it? Salah might have been offside for that. It was probably about slightly, 5-10 minutes.
More of a dinks ball.
But it was exactly the same, just the dip that he gets on it at the end. Oh, yeah, it's quality. I really think with Leicester at home, West Ham away, there's a couple of good fixtures there for him that might be fill your boots time.
Okay. You ready for the trivia question?
I thought it was a stat, but go on, give me the trivia. Make it a trivia question.
It's a stat that we'll do as a trivia question. How many defenders have got higher XG than Trent Alexander-Arnold this season?
XG or XGI?
XG.
4.
You're right about the 4. It's 54.
54 defenders with higher XG.
Don't count them.
But XGI?
Oh no, Trent's top.
His assists are there as well, right?
But it's not worth the money. Trent, I keep looking. I'm not going to promise you I won't buy Trent because I can go and put Trent in. I could go, yeah, Trent, Jota, Salah, fine. That's my 3 going on towards Gameweek 24. Cool, great. Trent Alexander-Arnold is not worth the money over the likes of Daniel Munoz and Lewis Hall at the moment. He's not. Do you not find that statistic staggering?
Well, I mean, a lot of his XG...
The days of him conceding and getting an assist and leading to bonus points are like gone, boss. So you're looking for these big, massive hauls. His XG for the season is like 0.5. And yesterday, as good as he was, it's 0.01. I need more when there's so many other good attacking players in that Liverpool team. Because I don't see where often he's going to land in the bonus at the moment.
Yeah, I get that. I've also been critical. Like prior to his little injury and he missed a few games, he hadn't been picking up returns for weeks after weeks. I mean, it was just the clean sheets, attacking returns I'm talking about. But I can see him coming now.
Also,
you want to try and get ahead of the curve, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. And also, it's not like he's going to play on anybody's minds. The 3 assists and a goal he got against, who was that? Leicester on Boxing Day a few years ago, was it? I think it was, wasn't it?
I think it might be.
What did he get off that?
Maybe
like 21 pointer or so.
21,
21, 23,
like
24. I can't remember.
It's a lot.
Major haul, wasn't it? And there's that. The capability in him as the player to suddenly go, well, there you go, James. Yeah, there is my goal and clean sheet and 15-pointer or even 18-pointer goal and assist or something. Yeah, that's there. And so chasing that, I get. But I also think there are so many good defenders. I mentioned a couple like some Munoz and Lewis Hall, who you can go in and invest and rotate when the fixtures are bad and play when it's good and use that 2.5 odd million so much better elsewhere.
Yeah,
you're going to buy him, aren't you? And I'm not promising that I won't either.
I'm really tempted. One of the things that I saw a lot of people doing last week, which I really didn't like, was getting Trent or Liverpool assets with a view for the double in 23-24. Because it just felt too far away to be planning now to be like, okay, well, I've got him. I'll leave him in there for 7 or 8 weeks because that's when the double's going to be. And I've saved myself an effort further down the road. And I did feel it's too far away to be thinking like that because so much can happen within that time period. And if you want to find money, he's an obvious place that you can go to find money. But I look at it now and I'm like, I want him for the next 2 or 3. And then if the added benefit is that he's there for 24, if there's a double or whatever that double is, all the better. I'm very tempted, and yeah, he's just cooking at the moment. He
If I
looks
buy
in
Trent,
form.
the consequence, and this is what I recommend people do before they rush in, the consequence of me buying Trent potentially means I get stuck with Semenyo. More to the point, it probably means I get stuck with João Pedro. These are consequences of me investing that money defensively, and that needs to be thought about because quite clearly, if I was free hitting this way, am I putting Trent in? Yeah, of course I'm putting Trent in, right? Is he capable of doing really well over the next few? Yes, absolutely. But it might be something bigger at play. To flip it, the other option, of course, with Trent is once you put him in, if you do need to find money, he's probably the easiest way of finding it. And I get that. I'm not going to promise that I'm not going to do it.
Yeah,
But
a
he's
lot of
not worth
decisions
the
to be
money.
made
I'm doing it because it'd be like the Haaland thing. It's because I can.
because you can afford it. Yeah, and the next two on paper really do look attractive and fill your boots time. If he used to go off against Leicester and West Ham, if he gets even 20, 22 points over the 25 points over the next couple of games, it'd have been worth it. Even if you then end up moving him on, I'll end up with benching dilemma. Like if I was to make the moves that I have in at the moment, which is Jota for Saka, Trent for Greaves.
I'll be going
And
for
then,
fast probably for me if I do it.
and then exactly the 4.0, and then whether it's Jesus or Wood or whoever I decide for Cunha, my bench will be made up of someone out of Lewis Hall, Semenyo, Morgan Rogers, João Pedro. Those are my four
Yeah,
weakest players.
I'd be Rogers, Colwell, Castagno.
Yeah, it feels strong, right? It's not bench boostable because of the fixtures they've got, but
Well, no,
it's
used it.
strong. Oh, for you, yes, indeed. And I don't have a goalkeeper on the bench at the moment because I've got Valdemarson to go alongside Flecken.
But I just
But
think things like I get it. It's like, and this is the real one. The Leicester game, you think, yeah, shit, it really could go off big on Thursday night, and I agree with that. Not having him Thursday is like, oh, it might be there. But if it didn't work out and I kind of escaped this week, I'd be more pleased that I could go right. I go fast to Munoz and rotate around with Hall and Castagna and Colwell moving forward, and I can get João Pedro to Mateta, Solanke, Havertz, maybe even Watkins, or move Semenyo back up to like a Bruno Fernandes. Once I go Trent, I'm doing the one thing that I didn't want to do is cut myself off of loads of players again.
cool. That's a wrap of the games, James. So what we've been trying to do in recent shows is talk about the schedule that we've got for the rest of the week early in the show. We forgot to do it today because professional outfit that we are. Do you want to tell listeners what the plan is over this kind of Christmas week? Because obviously Wednesday, Thursday are bank holidays here in the UK, and all the football is on Thursday with a couple of games on Friday.
Can I do the schedule and then talk about Liverpool a bit more?
Yeah, we can talk about Liverpool more if you want to, but I mean, they're just phenomenal at the moment. Phenomenal.
What? No, I meant from the fantasy perspective because you and I have spoken about Jota. What about Diaz?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it's
I have a small temptation to go Jota and Diaz.
and Salah.
I know that one of them is going to go. Obviously not Mo, but then just shove them both in for a little bit, knowing they're going to get rotated, and then take a view in 3-4 weeks of moving one on. I don't think I'll do that. I do think I'm going to go Jota.
I don't think there's any. If someone said to me, "I'm going Diaz over Jota," I wouldn't. I don't think have any strong, feeling either way. Sure, if Diaz is what you want to go with it because he'll still. He's just as likely to return big as Jota is.
I think Diaz is the most likely to drop out for Jota this week. I think
Gakpo stick on the left, Salah right, and Diaz
and then I think
Jota in the middle. Yeah,
and there's every chance I wouldn't be surprised if it's then Diaz and Nunez play at West Ham.
Please, I'd rather that than maybe Jota and Diaz play.
Diaz is a wonderful player. That midfield three for Liverpool yesterday, by the way, was outstanding. Shabosh,
too good.
In saying at some point, is that an option?
6'3". I think the gap of only 1 million more to get to Jota. No, go
Agreed.
Jota.
Would you definitely pay for Trent over Van Dijk?
Gap is small, so yes. That 0.6 if you've got the money. But I thought he had a great game. He just looked in boss mode.
Would you definitely pay for Trent over Robertson?
Yeah. I didn't think. I don't fancy Robertson as an option. Yeah.
Canate information would be useful. to know how long. I'd feel more comfortable letting Trent go if I knew Kanate was going to be back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm not going to take that risk. I don't think so. No.
Okay, schedule.
Go on.
Tomorrow, Clayton and James show. And I promise we will talk more about solutions for Arsenal in forthcoming weeks with Bukayo Saka absent. Deadline stream Thursday morning goes ahead. Friday, me and you doing the game review pod again. Sunday deadline stream. It's all over the shop this week. Patreon content includes Q&A today, game week 18 preview tomorrow. We've got an early release on Christmas Day of our quiz with Tom Campbell, which is going to be out for you next Monday. Game week review for game week 19, by the way, will be on a Tuesday, so we can incorporate the 3 games being played on Monday night. Me and Clayton are going to do a preview of game week 19 on Saturday this week, so we can include a review of the 2 Friday night games in that podcast as well. If you want to buy us support for Christmas, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL.
Cool, lovely jubbly. Yeah, patrons where you can find us. And obviously, if you sign up now, you get billed at the same time every month. So don't have to wait till the start of the month before you do that. We'd love to have you as part of the community. And once you have put yourself in a food coma over Christmas, oh, there goes the alarm. Once you've put yourself in a food coma over Christmas, you can listen to all of the back catalogue of stuff that we've ever put out, which is thousands and thousands of hours of stuff. Should we get some questions in, James? Just because it is Christmas.
Do a couple.
I've got a few here on the X. I'm picking all of the non-football or non-FPL kind of stuff that we haven't kind of covered. Aaron wants to know, genuinely, is Suj a closet United fan?
Which United? Man United.
Well, he didn't clarify, but I think most people, when they say United, would say Manchester United.
What would make you closet Manchester United? I don't get that.
I think I'm sympathetic towards them sometimes, or I don't shit on them like a lot of people like to do, despite the kind of a lot of people hate on them because of that massive period of dominance, right? That 20 years or so under Fergie where they bossed everything. I'm more of a closet Arsenal fan than I'm a closet Manchester United fan. Make of that what you will, whether or not I am a closet Man United fan. I'm indifferent. I just don't hate on them maybe as much as other people do, but I've got no support for them particularly. No.
I just leave my clothes on the floor. I haven't got any closets.
Lovely jubbly. I did listen to some really interesting stuff around Ineos and Manchester United on the price of football the other day. And I think that's a Money in Football episode that is definitely worth doing in the new year. Is Man United post takeover and Ineos, what are we actually learning about whether it's better or is it in fact actually worse?
Okay, next Thursday.
So
Patreon.
Yep.
All right, done. Ineos.
No, not next Thursday necessarily, but it's something that might be worth looking at soon.
I want to do Money in Football next week.
Have a think about it before we make that decision. FPL pasty. How many pigs in blankets is an acceptable amount to consume?
Whatever you want, mate.
I'm curious as to whether that's just in a sitting where you just have pigs in blankets and nothing else. In which case, I reckon I could do like 40 or 50.
The better question is 40 or 50, you know, I'm agreeing. What number would be on the plate and you'd be like, you're kissing your teeth, like, where's the rest?
3.
Yeah. If you've got 4, are you content?
Yeah, 4 or 5, I'm happy. And beyond that, I want to be able to just know that I can pick myself up a couple more. It's a great food.
I think here's one thing to do for Christmas, right? And this might happen in houses where you've got a lot of people around for dinner. If you get your Christmas dinner and there is 1 pigs in blanket on your table, you send them to me. You need to have a whinge. You can't be doing that. Nah. Because that's like, you'd almost rather have none, wouldn't you, than 1?
Yeah. Definitely. It's a good food. I remember Subway used to do the pigs in blanket sandwich. Do you remember that? There's a massive sausage all wrapped in bacon. But that's not what I'll be having for lunch today. Look, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Planet FPL. Once again, I'm going to say have a great Christmas. Kind of enjoy it. A lot of football on Boxing Day. Oh, go on. Yeah, James is the blue sky man.
It's
So let's do it.
it's just a quick one. It is FPL, but it's a very simple one.
Oh, we'll allow it.
FPL Vino did flow says any dice on triple captain Salah this week.
If you did, I think the official account tweeted, didn't they, that 13,000 people did it last week against Spurs.
It'll be more than that this week.
Yeah, yeah, go for it. We've seen how bad they are, Leicester, and we've seen how good Liverpool are, and it's a home game, and it's under the lights on Boxing Day. I think it's going to be lively. Yeah, I can see. I'm going to be predicting 4 or 5-0 for Liverpool.
For me, it's a no, and for me, it's a no because I don't think we should consider him 100% a starter.
I was going to say that. That's the only thing is, like, if you're thinking, when am I going to rest him? Leicester at home, you can afford to rest him.
I don't think they will. I just think his streak is too good. His conditioning looks way too good. When you remember how old he is, you'd think, oh my God. I mean, he runs around like a 22-year-old. I've said it so many times this season. It's the best he's ever looked. But there is a small chance that he doesn't start this football match. And there's definitely a chance that he comes off early in this one. Because if the game's won, if they're 3-0 up at half time, and admittedly he's probably already done the damage, but there's a good chance they hold him back for West Ham, surely. It's less than 72-hour turnaround. So it'll be a no for me on triple captain this week.
Good. Okie dokie. Listeners, thank you so much for all of your support again. It just leaves me to say, stay safe, look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great Christmas. Be nice to each other. Cue music, please. Man child.